disruptive.
America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. So switching gears for a second to what's happening in Israel-Palestine, because this appeared in my timeline. This video got surfaced, and it was kind of intriguing. So it says, former director of Israel's Mossad, that's the spy agency, the intelligence services in Israel, admits that Israel armed Al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups in the Middle East. Say, what? You're telling me that governments provide terrorist groups to other nations so that we cultivize war on terror and terrorize citizens abroad so that we can go over there and hijack their economy and hijack their territories, all for the purposes of a bloodthirst economy? Holy crap! Who would have thought that was coming? It's almost like we knew this the whole 20 plus years of war. Gee, who would have thunk that? Who would have came up with that idea? If only like someone said in 2010, like Hillary Clinton, for example, the queen of warmongers, confessed to Congress that the United States played a huge part in the creation of Al-Qaeda and ISIS through the Mujahideen. Go look it up. Go watch our videos. It's been proven and acknowledged that we invent these terrorist groups so we can have a war on terror. And now you're hearing it straight from a former Mossad spy admitting to this. So no wonder why they're such great allies, the United States and Israel. You wonder why. They need each other. They need this partnership. They need Israel to survive. So listen to this. This is from this is a clip from Al Jazeera a couple of moons ago, but
Okay, you say no preference. There have been reports that Israel has been treating wounded Syrian rebel fighters in its hospitals on the border, including fighters from Nusra Front, which is, of course, the Al-Qaeda proxy in Syria. Do those reports worry you that Israel's helping wounded Al-Qaeda-aligned fighters?
As I said before, in a different context, it's always useful also to deal with your enemies in a humane way. And I think that when you have people who are wounded and you can deal with them in a humane way, the considerations as to whether to take them in are not simply whether it's politically useful or whether it's politically
So it's purely humanitarian.
so we got to deal with our enemies in a humane way. And whether they're hurting or disenfranchised, we just got to take them into some sort of captivity that's politically useful for us. This is, again, this sounds like the blueprints of what we just heard when we heard Hillary Clinton say in 2010 of why they created the Mujahideen. Well, we took these disenfranchised people in Afghanistan and Pakistan. We took the Wahhabi brand of Islam. We exploited that. We gave them CIA training and tactics and weaponry and told them who to fight. And we bribed them by saying, hey, you'll be well off. We'll pay off, a house and you'll be able to live like a normal person if you do our dirty work. That's what cultivates these terrorist groups to begin with. We took disenfranchised people that we started in the first place. We took those people, took them for our political advantage, and then rise them up to be terrorists. And that's what Israel did during its time. So all these Middle Eastern terrorist groups that you know by name but never knew where they came from, congratulations. Because the people that are telling you to be terrified of these terrorist groups are the ones that created it. Surprise.
You say so there's no tactical or political strategic...
I didn't say there's no tactical. I said the main consideration, the immediate consideration is humane.
But the tactical issues involved, I mean, you know better than me the phrase...
The important thing is the first thing we do is humane. Okay? Don't go down that hole of, why we politicized and why we took them in and harbored them to be terrorists. We first of all, it was humane. We kind of felt bad. But then we said, hey, why don't we take those people, turn them into ruthless killers, and have them work for us? Don't worry about that part. First off, it's humane.
Blowback. You don't think there's going to be blowback against Israel if you get into bed with a group like Nusra Front?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be blowback.
Why?
Because I think that, unfortunately, the rules of the game in Syria are such that you can do anything that is not possible to be done anywhere else.
Yeah, I think people said that in Afghanistan too. Would you also treat Hezbollah fighters?
No, I would not treat.
Have you not just contradicted what you told me?
No.
This is, is that, I think that's Mehdi Hassan, actually, before he got on MSNBC and got fired by MSNBC. I love that question where he said, well, is there blowback? And he says, well, I don't think there's blowback. Well, I think Afghanistan proved that point. You know, how we cultivated a terrorist group to fight against the Soviets, and then we had to fight that terrorist group, and then we had to fight the people that were assisting us, like Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein, who was actually an ally at the point, before 9/11, before the war on terror, before George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and the rest of the blood-curdling warmongers decide we need to raise havoc in the Middle East to show who's boss. They used to be political allies of the United States. And then he decide to turn the other cheek. Saddam Hussein, got away from the U.S. dollar, the U.S. imperialism. Same with Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. He was actually an ally of the United States for a long time. And then he said, you know what? We need to help the people of Libya by getting away from the U.S. dollar. He was going to create his own currency, get away from the centralized bank movement. And they decide, enough is enough. We cut our allies and, cut him off. So, yes, there is blowback to creating terrorist groups. And amazingly enough, they still have not learned this lesson. Because, as Julian Assange reminds us, the whole point of this, the whole point of these wars, the whole point of creating terrorist groups and having these people on the media to scare you and fearmonger and tell you that Arabs are evil and Jews are in danger and this guy and then is continuous warfare. They need to continue warfare because there is a bloodthirst economy that elevates these people to the stature that they are. And in order to do that, they need to keep people in fear. They need to keep people in paranoia. They have to create these terrorist groups to have terror, so raise havoc on all these communities so that they can go in and then fight the creation that they've cultivated. It's all a big, giant exploitation, and we are collateral and are on our deathbeds and death and misery to elevate these people, to elevate the Mossad and the CIA and the FBI and Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman and Boeing. All these people that have blood on their hands, laughing themselves right to the bank, that also finance these wars. Cost trillions of dollars in debt and millions of lives sacrificed. All for continuous warfare to elevate the bloodthirsty economy.
No, I'm not contributing.
But humanely treating your enemies.
No. I think as far as Hezbollah fighters are concerned, with them we have a different account.
So let me be clear. You're happy to treat Al-Qaeda fighters, but not Hezbollah fighters.
We have a different account with Hezbollah. A totally different account, because Hezbollah has carried out the type of actions against us which preclude us from going into what the Al-Qaeda has done. Al-Qaeda, to the best of my recollection, has up to now not attacked Israel.
So, he's saying, to my recollection, Al-Qaeda didn't attack Israel. So, they're okay because we can use our political advances on this group, but because Iran and Hezbollah are worried about Israel and Mossad and their advancement, the fact that they're paying these terrorists to do their dirty work, yeah, we're not going to treat them nicely. Yeah, we might actually attack them first. We might do preemptive attacks because they're not willing to do our dirty work. They're not advancing our empire. They're trying to liberate their own people. How dare they try to defend their own nation? So let's just attack them first, and then we'll cry boo-hoo, cry wolf when they start retaliating. Again, I could say this till I'm blue in the face. All these wars are big, giant global scams. Every single time. It's not defending anything. There is no humanitarian whatsoever. There's nothing except the fact that we get sacrificed for them, for their own credences, for their own sports, for their own economic purposes. They could not give two rats' asses about anyone's life, not even the people of Israel. And to remind people on how this playbook just continues to get played out, just like how it happened when 2010, the confession of how the Mujahideen was created by the United States and formed into ISIS and Al-Qaeda, Hamas came from Israel. And we've shown this so many times before. I just want to remind people again, that evil terrorist regime that we're trying to fight against because Hamas has kidnapped and raped people, supposedly, according to mainstream outlets run by the AIPAC lobby. Know where your terrorist group came from. Because it came from the people that we're supposedly defending. Supposedly we're defending Israel, that they're defending the terrorist groups. Because in order for them to be defended from this tirade, and the fact that they can now exploit the Palestinians and kill them off, is they had to create the terrorist group. They had to create Hamas to stymie against Palestinians who just want liberation, who just want to live in a civil society. That most Palestinians and Israelis want to come together and act like normal people. But you know who doesn't want us to act like normal people? The blood-curdling empires, the imperialistic state that has us captured and screws us over to the point we end up in warfare. They want us to murder each other. They want mass murder around. Because the more we die off, the more we start slashing each other and killing and bombing and pillaging against each other, the more they can laugh to the bank and they can get away with blood on their hands. That's what it comes down to, folks. All these people that are cheering for one side or the other, you're all part of this exploitation. You're all part of this sham. You're all being played as pawns. You're all collateral for this global, tirated, militarized empire, the military-industrial complex, that's played every single one of us like suckers. And it's time to call it all out. Not just for the sake of Palestine, not just for the sake of people in the Middle East, not just for the sake of how America is treated the rest of the world, but the fact that if we don't stop them now, they're going to take us next. We might be the ones facing war. We might be the ones getting pillaged and burnt and bombasted with bombs by this evil, sickening, diabolical military empire. And here's even just recently, Mossad chief threatens the ICC prosecutor over war crimes inquiry report. The Guardian sources revealed former Israeli intelligence director Yossi Cohen is personally involved in secret plot to pressure the former ICC attorney Beto Benzouda to drop Palestinian investigation. That's the International Criminal Court. And do you think they would be threatening people of the International Court if they had nothing to hide? Do you think they'd be threatening their livelihoods? They'd be threatening members of their own family. And not just trying to silence them, not just trying to keep them quiet, but kill them off the face of the earth. Do you think they're doing this on the respect of defending anybody? Or is this self-interest because if word gets out, the game is over? And they don't want us to know. They don't want us to be acknowledged on the fact that we're being exploited by this dark, evil presence. And we have to stop them now before it gets to us. That's why they're censoring. That's why they're manipulating. That's why they bought all the media. and trying to paranoia us and scare us and fearmonger into the masses. That's why all these protests and people coming and beating the crap at each other on college campuses for foreign nations, while we're screwing our own country in part of this. It's all a giant goddamn exploitation, and every single one of us is a ploy. We are being used and abused for them. And it's time to call every one of them out. Here's even, this is an actual Israeli publication. People in Israel know better about their own government than what we're being told in the Western Hemisphere. Maybe because the Israeli media isn't completely corrupted by this giant foreign lobby. Because Haaretz points out, this is an editorial, Netanyahu knew, he ignored, and Netanyahu is responsible. So people in Israel can even call out their own government. People in Israel are protesting right now against Netanyahu. Did you see that on MSNBC? Do you see that on any news outlets? Does the New York Times publish it? Does any sort of outlet anywhere in North America, do they publish it? God, no. Because if they did, they'd be called anti-Semitic. They would get hate mail from the Mossad. They would get spies attacked on them. They would get hacked by their services. It is criminally disastrous and insane. And the further we go down this, the further we escalate this genocide, the further we escalate any of the wars that we're participating right now, whether it being this or even with Ukraine, as we're seeing now, NATO wanting U.S. troops to fight directly against Russia, that is absolutely dangerous. And it is catastrophically damaging for the rest of the world. They don't know what the hell they are doing, and they will do a suicide mission on every single one of us. Because they're so diluted. They're so diabolical. They're so completely disconnected from the rest of the world that they will literally nuke the entire planet, put us into a nuclear warfare that nothing will exist afterwards, just to get them a little bit of cash and blood money. Absolutely goddamn disgusting. And that is why I acknowledge and I congratulate the people on college campuses of all the things they could be protesting for once. For once. I'm actually proud that they're actually taking a stance for a much deeper cause. Because they could be protesting about, Disney not being woke or, they didn't get the lead to Sydney Sweeting or, the amount of protests they could be cultivating in this. This is serious, absolutely diabolical business. And the fact they're calling out the institutions by name, the fact they're calling out people by name, and not just calling out this war, but the entire war machine, this is what we need more of. And I hope more and more people are awake to this before it takes you down. Because we're all just ploys, we're all just pawns, we're all just basically lab rats in the catastrophic damaging that the oligarchy is putting in place on us. And it's time to step up before they squish you down.